Well, former President Thabo Mbeki had warned that the deployment of military in the eastern part of the DRC cannot lead to lasting solutions to that protracted conflict. He has also urged all parties involved to engage in political dialogue in order to resolve the current impasse in that country. Mbeki says people are dying unnecessarily. And to further unpack this, let's now welcome Defense Analyst Mr. Dean Wingrin. Dean, thank you so much for your time today. Welcome. So these news of the deaths of the 9 South African Defence Force members in the DRC have once again brought sharp criticism from locals and politicians alike, who feel that South Africa really has no interest in the current unrest in the DRC. What is our interest really in these missions, Dean?
Good afternoon, and thanks very much for having me. And that's a very good question. It's one that a number of people, both within South Africa and internationally, is asking. And I can see that South Africa is sort of one of the biggest economic powerhouses in Africa, and that it can be to South Africa's benefit to have a safe and secure safe and secure Africa, and that will benefit South Africa's economy as well. But in order to do that, you must have a sufficiently capacitated and equipped army that if you are going to deploy them 3,000 kilometers away, then they must be supported. And unfortunately, if they cannot be supported, if you don't have sufficient logistics to support them, enough ammunition, even small things like toilets and hot food and safe accommodation, then perhaps they shouldn't be there. And they might be more beneficial patrolling South Africa's borders, and particularly in the eastern part of our country, such as northern Mozambique, which is facing ISIS terrorists. And that has a very close effect on South Africa.
Interesting indeed, Dean. I mean, when these deaths occur during such missions, then who carries the costs of the repatriation and the total overall well-being of the extended families? Do you think they get some sort of a special benefits or even recognition by those countries that actually died assisting? I mean, I'm trying to understand the value as well as overall impact of such deployments, Dean.
That's right. Well, soldiers are a very special breed of person in that generally they join the army to serve the country rather in a very selfless manner. And they don't really expect accolades. But what they do expect is that those who send them to war actually support them.
Yes.
And there are various group life kind of policies, life policies and so on, for the soldiers and to try and support the families. But obviously, a lot of these soldiers, they're the sole providers for a lot of the families. And if they do happen to pass away while on duty, the benefits that do come to them is not really sufficient to support those families any longer. And I think it's up to our politicians that to look into this as well. And I know the South African Defence Union this is something that is very high on their priority list as well.
But then is it really just the issues of budget as well as preparedness, right? Because remember, our soldiers are not often exposed to that type of frontline type of combat.
Our soldiers are very well trained. I must give the Defence Force that recognition. Before they're deployed, there's numerous exercises and specialists, particularly going to the DRC, there'll be a jungle warfare phase and so on. But running a defense force is a very expensive, capital-intensive exercise, and it's not like any other government department. It's also very much reliant on overseas equipment suppliers, particularly now that South Africa's homegrown armaments industry is not getting the support and the sales that it should to the South African National Defence Force. So the budget, approximately 65% of our budget goes to salaries. And that is really not sustainable, because then you robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking funds from your operational costs just to pay salaries, and then you don't have money left over for not only maintaining your existing equipment, but replacing that equipment. And as technology moves on, if you've got a laptop, a computer, a cell phone, 3-4 years old, it's already ancient technology.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens in the Defense Force. The people who are actually you're coming against in the field, of war, they don't have those restrictions. They are employing the most modern of equipment, and you're now at a disadvantage.
And it's not much of salaries to speak of there, Dean. I mean, the fact that these soldiers, we're hearing reports, actually died not long after a week-long visit by Minister Njimotsecha, who apparently had gone there to actually check operational conditions. So one then wonders, what was the purpose if the loss of life couldn't be avoided in that situation?
That's right. The Minister of Defense and the Chief of the Defense Force actually arrived there on Wednesday. And M23 started this new offensive about 2 weeks ago. And the minister arrived there on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday, they attacked the South African base in Sake and in about 20 kilometers south to the capital of the North Kivu province, Goma. And one wonders whether that was actually a coincidence or not. M23 is supported by Rwanda. It's trained, equipped, and it's not just a ragtag army. They are very well equipped and trained by Rwanda, and there appears to be evidence as well of Rwandan forces actually integrated in and with M23. And which once again points to the South African forces there. Is there too few of them, and the SABC counterparts? And they really do need to be supported more.
Dean, thank you so much for your input this afternoon. Mr. Dean Wingrin is a defense analyst on the SANDF, losing 9 lives out in the DRC.